This is fine. This is fine. This is a poor substitute for therapy, but an excellent substitute for other podcasts. We're not like other podcasts. Join us as we find the answers to the universe's biggest questions like, is butter a carb? Does crying burn calories? And what the fuck am I doing with my life? We're here to be your part-time therapist, astrologer, concierge doctor, and fairy godmother. Do you need someone to validate you today? Cool. Come on in. We're fine. This is fine. Hello, cuties. It's a new year. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for This Is Fine. Welcome back to your favorite podcast. I'm your host, Dominique, and I'm so happy you're kicking off your new year with us. Today, our favorite therapist is back, Dr. Kevin Gilliland, clinical psychologist and director of Innovation 360 in Dallas, Texas. Dr. G has joined us for episode 2 last summer and episode 24 most recently back in December. So if you have some catching up to do, this is your cue. If you're swiping out of this episode to go listen to those, do us a solid and leave us a little review if you don't mind, particularly if you feel like leaving 5 stars. We'd be so grateful. Thank you for supporting our show. Okay, so Dr. Gilliland is here to help us set the tone for a mentally healthy new year. Things like a healthier approach to resolutions, some ideas for mental health goals in 2023. You may have heard our first episode of 2023, aka my extremely random mini TED Talk on New Year's resolutions. And if you're still kicking resolution ideas around in your head after listening to that, perfect. I'm glad we caught you in time. Even if you've set one already, you'll have a couple more to tack on after this episode. Good morning.
How are you doing?
We are fine.
Okay. You know what? If you're not fine, but you kind of sing the answer, I feel like it's even...
I think it makes it better.
It does. It totally makes it. I'm like, I bought into it. I'm like, wow, she sang it? She really is fine.
She's doing amazing. I sing all day to Stella, which to me indicates that I'm mentally unwell, but perhaps to you, the professional, means otherwise.
It's a sign. It's a sign of health is what that is. That is beautiful. Now, I also detected a hint of, wait a second, that girl can sing.
Oh, my God. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm like, holy cow. I would never do that publicly. I'm like, oh.
Again,
Kev, keep that in the shower. You should only sing in the shower and really when no one else is home. So
I don't realize that I'm doing it sometimes because if I realized that I was singing in public, I would be very embarrassed.
Yeah. So like you can sing though. You can.
I mean, I will neither confirm nor deny.
Okay, thank you.
I will neither confirm nor deny that I was a show choir kid in high school.
Oh, that's so awesome.
I just outed myself so hard.
Yes, you did. You did. I don't think we've hit record yet, so you're okay.
No, we've been rolling this whole time. Like we're jumping right in. So, I've been exposed.
He's like, I am not going to miss it from the get-go. I'm hitting record.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, it was just like, I don't want anything on the cutting room floor this episode.
No, we're going to have that all out there for the public. So
yes.
That's so genius. Yeah, you can sing, man. You can carry a tune right there.
You are just a ride or die friend. Thank you.
It was, well, I noticed it. I'm like, ooh, as someone who cannot sing, you can sing. So
I feel
I'm like, okay.
I'm such a Buddy the Elf. People are listening after the holiday, but for us, it's like Christmas week. And I'm like, anyone can sing. It's just like, it's like talking, but louder.
Yes. It's still a classic. It's
I know. The fact that
it's in our holiday rotation.
Oh, yeah. Well, the fact that it's a classic makes me feel old, but
I know.
I remember seeing it in theaters.
See? I like that. I like that when you young people have these aging moments. And I'm like, it's wrong, but it's brought me great joy.
I know, right? Is that called the Schadenfreude?
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
Is that a Freudian term or just German?
Yeah, that's so genius.
Oh, my God.
You dropping knowledge left and right for today's listeners.
Well, I'm trying. That's my whole goal is to maybe sound a little smart so people take me seriously.
Well, when you sing or say it with a different accent, you're halfway there.
Right?
I mean, seriously,
fake it till you make it. That's what they say in the biz.
Oh, yes, it is. I literally, quick true story. So I worked on the medical affairs side in a former job, and we were a really great company. And I had a colleague out in California that was from Switzerland, and he had this Swiss accent. And we used to always go, okay, dude, stop it. You're just using that because like everybody gets quiet and listens because it's a really wonderful accent.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, you're using that. We know you. And he was the sweetest guy, but yeah, you're like, okay.
You're using that against us.
You're absolutely using it to get command of the room.
Yeah.
And like you can say really mean stuff with that accent and people don't realize it.
They're
and you're
like,
like,
so
dude,
sweet.
it was wonderful. It was wonderful. So there you go. You keep throwing your accent.
I was going to say, maybe we'll sprinkle some into this episode. Who knows?
We're off in that direction. So I like our odds.
We're already off to a good start.
Odds.
We're off to the races.
Yes, we are.
I've established my state of mental health today. How are you doing? Are you fine today? Is everything fine in your world?
You know what? I am not going to complain because it's actually pretty good.
Good.
It's one of those times, where you're like, there's been a lot going on, but you know what? It's good. It's like there's a difference between stress and worry and anxiety, and sometimes we muddy those two up. Yeah. I'm like, no. Stress isn't a bad thing. It just lets you know you're doing something.
Yeah.
That's all.
Oh, I love that reframing.
I mean,
wow.
Yeah. Oh, God, I've been working. Well, thank you. Been working on that one for years now.
Yeah, you're living like you talk. You're doing it. You're doing the work.
Yeah. I know. I'm like, that's what I jokingly said, during the first year of COVID. I've never had as many people ask me how I'm doing, which just tells me I must have looked horrible.
No.
And so, because I'm like, wow, is it showing? I think it must be that, or people are just like, oh my gosh, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Because we're all doing so bad. But I really, and you'll appreciate this, I started just saying, you know what? I'm just trying to live like I talk.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredibly hard to do.
Yeah.
So that should be encouraging to everybody else while it is discouraging to me. That should be encouraging to everybody else. Oh, I bet it's so. No, it's not. And you and I talk about that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just speaks to the human condition. And I don't care what you do or how long you've done it. You still have to sort through it all. And so just reminding myself that it's stress because I'm doing something that I want to do and love doing.
Yep.
So,
and we're all in this, like, I don't want to say level playing field, but kind of. I feel like we're, like, regardless of our education, our profession, how much we know about health and mental health, like, actually enacting that in our everyday lives as human beings is still hard.
Oh my gosh. No, you're absolutely right with the playing field because that's the thing that's been really unique about COVID is we are all part of the story.
Yeah.
And that rarely happens in history. It rarely does. Rarely are we all part of the story. It's we're watching it, or it only impacted that area or that cultural group or that religious group or that age group.
Mm-hmm.
This impacted all of us around the globe.
Yeah.
And so it's, I don't care who you are and what you've done or not done or what, man, you are intimately acquainted with struggle and challenges from a physical and psychological and financial and social standpoint.
Yeah.
So
every area of our lives, which honestly is a pretty good segue into what we're doing today, is trying to get out of whatever funk or, icky spot you might have been in 2022. Like, we're heading into a new year. Obviously, like, we're still in, like, the throes of winter and, like, flu season, which is now, like, flu and COVID season, it kind of feels like. But, like, we want to start off with our, fresh perspective, a glint in our eyes. Like, I just had last week's episode on the idea of setting resolutions and how, even if, like, there are all these stats around how resolutions fail, the idea of setting a goal and putting a positive intention towards something really does propel us toward creating the life that we want to live. And I know you have tons of tips in this field.
Oh, man. Oh, gosh, I love it for so many reasons. I got asked just the other day, and actually it's When's this podcast? When does this one drop?
This is like the second week of January.
Okay, yeah. So I was on a national show just talking about the issues with our young and adolescents and the challenges. And part of what we're seeing and hearing, I really came back to, look, as a parent, our kids and young adults desperately need us to live a life worth living.
Yeah.
And we've all been so surrounded with negative, with challenging, because it's out there.
Yeah.
But of all years, and if you're not one, I don't do New Year's resolutions, well, you really ought to rethink that, because you talk about a time that we need to focus on what's good. And it's not in this, lie to yourself that the world's a wonderful place. I'm not sure I would say that, but look at your small part of the world. So step away from all the news reports, step away from all your social media and go, okay, look at your world. And even in your world, even in my world, there are things that carry a lot of emotional weight and even some, wow, interesting. At this particular moment in my life, some incredibly heavy negative subjects that I don't care what you do, you can't reframe them positive.
Wow.
They're bad. And you go, okay, but is that every aspect of my life? No, it is not. And if there has ever been a greater time for us personally to fight for the things in our lives that are enjoyable, that are good, that are rewarding, it's now.
Yep.
It really, really is. And if not for your own personal sake, for the sake of the people around you, because you just never know who's watching and being encouraged. And we think so self-focused about it. And you go, look, our struggles are way bigger than our struggles. We shouldn't keep them too hidden, because when we struggle well and we step in well to things that are good for us, I promise you have at least 2 or 3 people that notice and are encouraged. And it may be people at the store, at the restaurant you go to, at the office, at your church, at your neighborhood, when you're jogging. I don't know what it is, but I promise you got people that are positively impacted by you choosing to look at those things in life that you've got that are enjoyable. And man, we individually, we need that this year.
Yes.
We really, really do.
I love that you brought this up, because I recently kind of had a micro experience with this, where despite some of the struggles that I have been going through in my personal life, I wanted to make myself a highlight reel. And to me, this is like the best part of social media. Like, yes, there's like a pro and con to highlight reels. And you don't necessarily want to just cover up all of your struggles. Like you said, like struggling well and being open about it is also really powerful and profound. And concurrently, I made myself this stupid little TikTok, and it's just, clips from every happy like memory and experience I had throughout the year, whether it was just like, walking Stella at the beach or on a boat in the Amalfi Coast or, at an Elton John concert, and putting that together and watching it back literally made me cry. And I didn't make this, social media post for anyone else but myself and the people who were in it to reframe and refocus. And I know it's a delicate balance between, ignoring our problems or not acknowledging our problems and, acknowledging and then also looking at the good stuff. This whole reframe, refocus I keep coming back to.
No, oh, that's so huge, because we don't want to make either mistake. We don't want to just look at our pain and suffering, and we don't want to just look at those enjoyable, wonderful moments. We want to look at all of it. And it's when we look at it all at the same time that it has the most value to us. And we have to have those moments that are enjoyable and wonderful and lift us and remind us that there's so many wonderful things in life after we've been through the 2-3 years that we've been through. And right now we're still going through a difficult time. You go, no, we need to remember those things in the right balance, right? We're not trying to live like that, because you can't live like you're on vacation.
Yeah. Your whole life's not a highlight reel.
Yeah, no, it's not. But it should filter its way into your day to day. And I remember this guy, I can't remember who it was, but talked about whenever you do those wonderful things or trips or adventures, you always have three. And you need to be aware that you have three. And it's all the wonderful conversations and planning that you do ahead of time. Then because that's an experience that impacts our day. And then you have the trip itself, and then you have the memories after.
Yeah.
And we should leverage all three trips
Mm-hmm.
or all three experiences of, you probably did some of it at the holidays. You planned for all of this, then you had it, and then you're reflecting and thinking about what a joy. And that I'm looking at those things to be reminded of the things that are meaningful to me, that brought me joy. That, yes, I've had some challenges this year, but I've also had some wonderful things. And we tend to over-focus on the negative to our own detriment. Mm-hmm. And I think about, setting a resolution there. And I've talked about this a lot. So, it's because it stuck with me so much. It was the guy that's the editor of, I don't think it's in print anymore, Success Magazine.
Okay.
And he wanted to do something for his wife, either at an anniversary or birthday. So he started writing 2 things a day that he appreciated about his wife. Aww. And I was like, I know, sweet. But as a dude, I'm like, oh, that's a commitment. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm married to a wonderful woman. But you're like, how often can you say she's sweet and kind? You're like, okay, I've already used that. You know what I mean? And so you're like, holy cow, dude. I'm like, but I love it. And what's fascinating is what he learned along the way. And it relates to you're talking about set this resolution and intention. He said, it basically was like, look, yeah, I gave it to her. She thought it was wonderful. But I got to tell you, it changed me because I started thinking differently about my wife. I started appreciating little things more and more. And I was more thankful. And that has a positive effect in our lives. And we've actually researched gratitude and thankfulness. And it does improve so many aspects. And you go, I don't care what your goal has been this year. If there's not, or the New Year's resolution, if there's not a piece in it that has to do with encouraging or kind or positive, then you need to rewrite it a little bit, because we desperately need that as individuals in our own little world. Yeah. Because if you think that's how we as a society or as a culture are going to get better, is by these big governmental agencies or individuals, that is never going to happen.
Wrong.
It's going to it's going to happen because of you and me and you and you and you living different, being kind, being thoughtful to anybody that's a human.
Yep.
Anybody that's a human, or being grateful and thankful. That's in such short supply, and it's unfortunate because it's really critical to how we go about our day-to-day lives. Right. It changes our perspective, because if we don't look, we're not going to see it. And you go, yeah, the wonderful part is that's within our reach, all of us. We can actually do something about that.
I love that. And it makes me think that starting a gratitude practice would be a really great mental health resolution.
I'm telling you, if you haven't set one, you should do it. You should do it.
Okay.
Especially if you're in something that you can only see the downside. And, take one that's easy, your job. I hate my job. Okay. Well, just write 2 things a day that you're thankful for your job. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have to pause and reflect on it, because you go, and I say this to young adults all the time, the only thing worse than a bad job is no job.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you go, at the most basic level, I am thankful that I have a job that allows me to have a roof over my head
Mm-hmm.
and electricity and running water. And I am thankful for that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a simple start. Yeah.
Yeah. And you go, I mean, if you haven't been without that,
Yeah.
man,
It's hard to know until you've experienced it.
yeah. And unless you slow down, you're going to miss the things that actually I should be thankful for.
Right.
And it's true. I don't care what you do, how you work, what your job is. There are elements of it that I can promise you are that you're thankful for.
Right. You'll reflect on it years from now with a little bit of fondness, hopefully. Even
Yes.
I'm thinking about the worst job I've ever had, and there are little components that I can look back at with fondness. So,
and some of I got to talking with a colleague about this the other day. We're talking about worst jobs, and you go, even some of the worst jobs I have, I look back and I'm like, you know what? But I learned something. Now, at the time, did not feel like there was any learning going on. It was just all suffering.
You're just in it. Yeah.
You're in it. And it's hard to see it when you're in it. And you go, okay, maybe I need to step back and go, what could be worse than this? Oh, no. Be fair. Don't have the emotional statement of nothing could be worse. Oh, I promise you it could be.
Right.
Because homeless is hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard.
I can't even pretend to empathize with, I mean, like, I have never been close to that. And, I'm very, very obviously grateful. And I can only attempt to imagine how that would impact mental health of an individual.
Oh, it's unbelievably significant. And you go, or even if you have to, which a lot of people have had to do it the past 2 or 3 years, had to ask a family member for help.
Mm-hmm.
And that may mean, hey, I just lost my job. Can I move back in for a little while?
Right.
Or can you help me with rent while I'm looking for a job?
Mm-hmm.
Or I can't afford daycare now because so many have closed and it's gotten, can you help? That is so hard to do. And so, we get so busy that some of the basics we overlook.
Yeah.
And literally, I kid you not, just this morning I was talking with this mom that's just a wonderful mom, and I was going through some things that she was trying to sort through, and she goes, gosh, it's all so basic. I can't believe I haven't thought about doing this. And I'm like, hey, please don't. That's not going to help you to think critically like that, because it's only valuable. Basics are only valuable when you've sorted through and given the effort to think through a really difficult situation, that you're like, wow, that's when fundamentals are really rewarding.
Right.
I mean, it's when you take that time and you just pause and you go, you seriously don't have 5 minutes in your day to think about, what do I want to set as a goal? That's a little goal.
Right.
Do it for 2 weeks. And just see what happens, because our psychological health and our physical health is within arm's reach.
Yeah. I love this concept of 5 minutes because I actually have that 5-minute journal. I don't know if you've ever used that before.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great. Like, you start the day with like little things that you're grateful for. It could just be like, I'm grateful there's heat in my house, and I am grateful for this cup of coffee, and I'm grateful for my dog sitting here by my feet. Or it could be really big things like, I'm grateful I just got a bonus. I'm grateful I just got back from a trip. Like, whatever it is. And then you set the intention for your day and outline what would make my day good. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, this thing going right and like this thing getting done, then I'll have a good day. It could just mean, finding some inner stillness and calmness would probably make me feel better if I'm going to be stuck in traffic all day.
Yeah.
It really does. I think we keep coming back to this concept of reframing and refocusing, which I feel like could be a really good theme for someone's New Year's resolution as well.
God, it's funny as you were saying that. I'm like, man, my wife's really funny. And she'll ask me how my day, how was your day? Or what was and I'm like, what the heck? She was like, what was something that happened today that you thought was really funny? And I'm like, and she makes me think. And when she first started doing it, I was irritated. or what she was trying to do is be playful and help me shift my default mindset of it was a stressful day. I had to deal, and I'm like, I don't know that she realized what she was doing. I'm fairly certain she didn't, because she doesn't do what you and I do for a living.
Yeah.
But
she just instinctively did it.
Yes.
Right.
And what she was doing and what you and I talk about from a professional level is what naturally occurs in life. And that's what she was doing, is she was forcing me out of this default setting of, you don't need to know the words. That's basically the answer. And I'm like, okay, Kev, why is that your answer? Because I know you had something today that was funny, because I work with really funny people. And you go, or something that was enjoyable, or something that surprised you. And you go, yeah, I actually need to notice those things, because they add up in little ways that surprise us.
So true.
And I had a physician who I absolutely love, Dr. Tim Church, who does a ton with a company called Wonder Health, WONDR. And he is brilliant. And we had an interview early in COVID, and we were talking about the same concept. Now, he's a physician. And I say that because most physicians don't think this way. And that's what makes him so extraordinary. Cool. And he said, when you're in these times, you need to basically build a positive snowball. Like all throughout your day, pick up those things that really are nice and enjoyable and positive. And you need to be building a snowball all day long. And I thought, that is so spectacular.
That's beautiful.
I'm mildly irritated that you, a physician, came up with it. I'm like, dang it. I mean,
wait, that's my area.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, dude, stay in your lane. But he's so gifted. That's what makes him so gifted. Yeah. And he's so spot on of that little thing can have an impact that will surprise you, make you laugh, and that you will just enjoy it. That single thing. And if you're listening to this going, these people, they're in California, they are high, they both clearly use THC and CBD. And I'm like,
not today, I swear.
we may or may not. That's beside the point. But I'm telling you, if you doubt it, that is absolutely what you should do for 2 weeks.
Yeah,
and
seriously.
I'm telling you that if you don't have a resolution from whatever today is, you go, look, no, it's not too late to start. Just do it from now to the end of the month, and just do it every day and see what happens. Yes. And you're telling me you don't have time for that? You can't afford not to do it.
Yeah.
Like nobody.
There's no other option.
Nobody is going to look after your psychological and physical health. Nobody.
Yeah, that's a big realization.
Oh, there's nobody coming to help me and you.
Yep.
Fast food's going to continue to happen.
Yep.
And they're going to make it so that it's pleasurable and rewarding, but not filling. So it's up to us.
Yep.
And being physically active, I hate to tell you, I say this to patients all the time. I am not opposed to medications that help with mood, but I hate to tell you, that's the easy part.
Yeah.
The hard part is we still have to go and do.
Yep.
And that is hard. So
it's a recipe.
Look at the things. It is. Look at the things that lift it and make it a little bit better. And I'm telling you, just do it. Because it's also how our minds are. We have very playful minds. We really do. And so when we step into it and leverage it, good things happen.
Yep.
Literally this very morning, like I'm trying to get back into my routine of working out. And
same.
Literally this morning, right? I get up, got a good night's sleep, actually. Alarm goes off, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to work out. I was down to putting my tennis shoes on. Like I'm dressed. And I'm putting on the first sneaker, and I thought, man, I'm tired.
Oh, no.
Exactly.
I know that feeling.
I'm telling you, and I'm like, don't think. I don't need to think.
Yeah.
Ignore that. And I did. Literally, I just killed that thought, and it just stopped, and I just kept putting my shoe, and I'm like, no, I don't need to think. I just need to do it because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt it's good for me. Yep. So don't overthink it.
Yeah, you have to override your brain almost.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
You absolutely do. Just because you think it doesn't mean it's a good idea.
Yeah. I can so easily,
And you
and I
go,
feel like this is not a unique experience, but I can so easily talk myself out of doing something good for myself. Like,
oh,
oh, you should take care of yourself. Just lay down.
yeah. No, I
Yeah.
need to move
Mm-hmm.
because I'm taking care of myself. And I need to ignore, now, not to the extreme, but there was no reason for me. Now, yes, I've been really busy and I'm a little fatigued, but I also know that physical activity has a positive effect on my energy level
Yep.
and on my mood. There is tons of research on it. So I'm like, and I know personally from experience, I'm going to be glad I did it.
Yep.
Even if it's just for 20 minutes or
Yeah.
30 minutes.
Even
You go,
15.
no.
Like, there's
Yes,
so
even
much
15.
benefit. I feel like,
Just move.
yeah, especially
Yeah.
like the two of us went through, our COVID slump with exercise. I had to start with like 5 minutes. And after I was someone who did like 3 hours of exercise a day, which is not healthy. I'm not recommending it, just to like illustrate the extremes. Like I went from, intensively training every single day to like kind of finding a good middle ground of like, oh, I go to Pilates today and I'll do spin tomorrow.
Yep.
I went from that to nothing. And so the 5-minute workouts felt so stupid, but I cannot tell you, it's like the snowball. The little things consistently build up over time. This is such a universal theme with setting goals, setting resolutions. It doesn't feel like it makes a difference individually in this little like microcosm of the event itself. That 5 minutes, I'm like, that didn't do anything. But it ticked off a box that I moved my body that day, and I wanted to keep it going the next day. So I did 5 minutes again, and the next day it was like 7 or 10 minutes, and then I started getting back into more regular movement.
Okay, so what I would say is the people listening need to rewind and listen to everything you just said again, because if they take nothing else, they should absolutely take that as a wonderful example of what change looks like.
Yeah.
When we're trying to change a behavior, I don't need what I used to do right now. It's not helpful.
Yep.
It's not helpful at all. And so a little bit of movement is, the value is not in that 5 minutes today. The value in that movement is 2 weeks from now or 3 weeks from now or 6 months from now. And so
it's the inertia.
Yes, it is. So I love how you laid it out there, because
thank you.
It is, yes, well done. That's what it looks like. So that's why I'm not dismissive about the New Year's resolutions. I don't care how many people don't do it, but what it does is you think through something that actually is important and valuable.
Right.
And if nothing else, you've reminded yourself that, I've just gotten negative. And I'm telling you, if you spend 5 minutes on social media or 5 minutes watching the news a week, you have just been exposed to more negativity than most people in abusive relationships.
Whoa.
I'm not kidding you.
Wow.
It is horrendous how much we are bombarded by these negative, critical. I mean,
I'm hoping our producer Dan is listening closely right now, because we just had to talk about like the negativity of Twitter and the news, and I'm like, you got to have like a dry January, but for Twitter and news.
I'm telling you, I mean it. And the people like him that have to be in the industry, man, there are actually entire modules to help people in media for what they have to watch, listen to, and read, because it is all painful, tragic, traumatic. Just to get to what we have live, it has a horrendous psychological impact. And we don't realize how negativity creeps in when we are just trying to get information.
Right.
I mean,
it's so bad.
Like I don't know if I've told you this, but I do not watch the news, listen to the news, and I really don't even, I've been out of social media for a hot minute.
Yeah.
When I want news, I have like my go-to 3 to 5 print media that I read.
Nice.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Because I don't need the rhetoric. And yes,
Yeah.
you can get a feel for it in the written form, but it's not as toxic.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
I'm far more in control of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so
I'm right there with you. I think that people can be very judgmental about this. Like even just thinking about, I don't know if you watched White Lotus, but there's a scene in season 2 where they're kind of framing the kind of like the ditzier couple, I guess. Like, they don't pay attention to the news. They don't know that the world's like burning down around them. Like, what a bummer. I'm like, oh no, I'm like that person that people perceive as like the ostrich with the head in the sand. But I truly, I mean, I think most people listening to this know I am a highly sensitive person, very empathic. I take on like the feelings of others. I can't even watch like an energetically uncomfortable movie or TV show because like it just sends me. It like affects my psyche. So I had to take, just like you, like all news off of my phone. I have no Twitter or like Facebook or anything on my phone. I do Instagram detoxes all the time. I will say the one corner of social media that has brought me joy is actually TikTok, and I didn't realize this until I did some of my cleanses of social media. But I've taken inventory and been very deliberate with, okay, what inspires me, motivates me, brings me joy. I've somehow curated like a For You page that is people getting their lives together and cleaning their houses and exercising. And every time I watch those, I don't feel the feeling of comparison. I feel energized. I feel inspired. So that is like how I have kind of curated a more healthful relationship with social media. But it's obviously a very personal thing, and like you have to do that yourself. But the way I got there was just kind of monitoring how I feel when I consume it. And I've just noticed over time, like, oh, when I see those pop up on my page, I feel so energized and invigorated and ready to like go tackle a new goal. Like that's going to be my day tomorrow. I'm going to do that like Sunday reset.
Okay, so let me take back what I said earlier. So if you're listening to this podcast, ignore the first time I told you to do this, and you need to rewind what you just said and listen to it. I mean it. I'm like, oh my gosh, you were in fuego today.
Oh, thank you.
That I can, if I had to pick one thing that would have one of the most significant impacts on people, that's it. Because what we are the first generation of cell phone and social media. We're the first generation.
Yeah.
And you go as parents and as young adults, and you go, okay, so Kev, what grade would you give it? F for sure. F. We have failed miserably. We have had to make states have laws that, hey, you know, we're just against you going 75 watching videos on your phone. Yeah. We think that's bad driving technique. Yeah. That's how irresponsible we are.
Yeah.
Is that we've had to have laws because we are so irresponsible with that. And look, we count calories. You know, you and I've talked about before, I shouldn't know how many calories are in a banana. I shouldn't know that.
Yeah.
But you go, are you counting your information calories? Because they are wrecking our psychological health.
Right.
And what I love is use it purposefully. Use it purposefully because it's all written in a way, not from some evil, malicious intent. It was actually written to go, oh, you like stories on cleaning houses. I'm going to send you more. Well, when you go to stories that are emotional and negatively charged, like pick any subject, I don't even want to pick a subject, but if you read that, it's going to send you more of that. That's how you end up thinking the earth's flat.
Yeah,
and so you go, okay, well then use that programming for you.
Right.
Curate and make a whole new Instagram or TikTok account that is purposeful for helping you feel energized and encouraged. Yes. And just compare, how do I feel when I'm on mine? And how do I feel when I do this new one? That's a great resolution.
I love
is to create a new one with only encouraging things like, yeah, I'm fascinated by building stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like people that I'm like, wait a second, what? Those time lapse, I'm like, I love those. Every time I look at that, I'm like, holy cow.
Oh, I've got some accounts for you. I'll send you offline.
Right? Yeah. So you just go, I love
Yeah.
that. So you go, oh my gosh, that is so spectacular. And it's one of those gaps that we all can close, and we don't realize how much it's happening to us.
Yeah.
We just don't. And it's so subtle.
Yeah, that's the thing.
If you don't have somebody, if you don't have somebody in your life to go, hey, I don't know if you know this or not, but man, you just have allowed some real critical thoughts and statements to creep in about fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
And you go, I don't know where that's coming from, but well, I do know where it's coming from. It's what you're seeing and thinking about, and you go, ooh, you need a broader perspective.
Yep. What we consume impacts our energy. It's so literal and direct.
Huge. And being in charge of it in a thoughtful way, I mean, it is so unbelievably critical. It's not even funny.
Well, I love that you pointed this out as being a resolution, like doing a hard reboot on your social media, re-curating everything, kind of closing out the negative news, finding a couple print outlets that you feel kind of energetically neutral when you read, if you want to keep up with things and kind of just be aware of the world around you.
Start a new account under some name and just go, look, just start selecting things that have this enjoyable, wonderful property. Like there's always wildlife in mine and mountains. And you go, I am constantly amazed at the ways now that we get photographs and videos of these gorgeous animals. And I'm like, how did they get that? It's just beautiful. And so I always leave watching some of those with just, oh man, that's amazing.
You're all
what
inspired.
A world we live in. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I love that.
Is that your new resolution?
Honestly, that actually may be. That's a really good idea you have there. I'm like, I'm fairly certain I'm going to do that. So offline, shoot me some of your how to build this or how it's made.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I have my dear friends / also clients out in Tennessee are custom home builders, and I've been encouraging them to put more on their TikTok and social media. They have a beautiful Instagram, but they're doing some more like time-lapse kind of things that I think you'll love.
One of my go-tos, and I don't know where they are, they make these log cabins out of...
Ooh.
Oh, yeah. And I don't know where they get the lumber, or just take a break, people. I don't know where they do. Logging is not what it used to be.
Right.
We've course corrected that and protected some of the right things. But it's the same thing. I'm just like, and they don't build that many. But I'm like, oh, that's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
You got to get yourself a nice little mountain home, I think.
Oh, man, right? You can hear it, can't you? I'm like, yeah, that's the direction I'm going.
That's your New Year's resolution.
Yeah. All I need
cabin.
is either winning a lottery or an axe and a lot of time.
Well, there's your fitness resolution.
I'm killing two birds with one stone.
Some wood chopping. Oh my gosh.
If I have to go that route, it's not going to be for entertaining guests. It's going to be a small place.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah,
your respite.
Yes, a single person respite. Yeah, I love that. That's genius. Genius.
You're the genius here. You just got there. I framed it differently. So
that's so funny.
That kind of reminds me of what you said toward the beginning of this episode about travel or trips or events where you're planning it, then you experience it, then you have the memories. So you get like this threefold. Would you say that travel or planning a trip would constitute a good mental health resolution?
Yes. I mean, yes, period. Okay. Yes, period. I can't tell you how many couples I've worked with over the years that that travel is their best time together. It's when they're at their best. I mean, it's one of the most common things I hear, because we're typically very different when we travel.
Yeah.
And so, and don't think, I don't have the money to travel. Look, there have been plenty times in my lovely bride and my life where we had no money.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, depending on where you live, like some states are so much better than other states, but regardless of where you are, there are a lot of public, either sort of, God, think about California. They're public parks or
Right.
public
like
forests.
free activities.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you go, oh man, I'm very late to the hiking game, right? And when I first
shocks me.
did it, I know. Well, and it's funny. I had a colleague up in Colorado that, and I mean, I've apologized to him since. I'm like, why are we hiking? I don't get this. What's this? Is it exercise? Is it? And he just laughed. He's older than me. He's like, no, it's just we're hiking. And I'm like, and I was like, wow, that was so diagnostic of me. I'm like, dude, settle down. It's for enjoyment.
Right.
And I'm like, oh God, that hurt. That hurt. I just blew right past that, Mr. Work. I know. Yeah. Oops. That hurt. I thought I was just hiking. I didn't know I was having a session, but it is, I encourage people, look, get out, go and camp, or
right.
you can rent a cabin for nothing. Or if you've got friends or other family, chip in together and look for something. Or it's one of the things I love about Airbnb is it's lowered the cost for either you and your partner or a couple of couples. Now it's affordable.
Yeah. It's made the hotels more competitive too.
Yes, it has.
Like I've found insane prices on hotels like Europe, Hawaii, like all over the place.
And just shop for bargains. Now, you may have to look and wait, but fine, look and wait. But again, the looking and waiting is the first experience.
Right.
Is that you're trying to get a deal or a bargain or, save up points on a credit card or something that allows you to do that. And it doesn't, the extravagance or the grandeur of the location, you're missing the point.
Right.
It's the adventure. It's the new place. I mean, some of the best experiences I've had traveling are not the nicest. They're just not. I mean, it's wow, I can't believe we found this place in some tiny town in the middle of the most beautiful mountains I've ever seen.
Oh, cool.
And you're just like, man, it just doesn't get any better than that. And so, again, it's be creative. And whether it's a tent or coupons or you go in with a couple other folks, set a goal to take a trip. And actually, if you're fortunate and you have a job and you have a little bit left over, plan a trip. And that's, God, now I'm gonna have to think about what's my goal, because I'm really bad about that. I can get I'm glad it's just you and I talking. I can get way too wrapped up with work.
Yep, exactly.
And it has a negative effect on actually what I really love in life. And what I really love in life is my family and a close circle of friends. Now, I feel really fortunate to do something that I love, but it's no choice for me. I mean, it's a no-brainer. I know it's family and friends and living life that is far more important to me than what I do.
100%. Could not agree more.
I'll change. We'll all change what we do.
Yep.
I'm not going to change those people.
Right.
Those are my people.
Yeah.
And they're not changing. We will all change jobs. We'll all live in different places, but those people, they're going to be there. They're going to keep showing up in all these other pictures and adventures and memories. And gosh,
that
I will
connection
prioritize that.
That connection is number one priority. Like I could not agree more strongly. I am not as career obsessed as some people might think I am. Don't get me wrong, love what I do for a living, but I would pick literally life experience, family connection, those friendships that feel like family plus. And all of that is number one. And I think this also brings up a really good point. I kind of touched on this in our first episode of 2023, but choosing a resolution for joy. Like, you don't have to necessarily be like, I'm going to save money and pay off debt and lose weight. And like, those are like, great things if those work for you. But choosing a resolution for joy is good too. Like, you don't have to be productive in every area of your life.
Oh, I think it's, God, I almost say it's more important.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I go back to the full picture of our lives is often a mix of really wonderful things and some stressful or heavy things. And you go, okay, in the midst of doing all of those things, I still want to have an attitude that's joyful and kind. And you go, okay, well, how do I do that? And you go, well, if that's what you're wanting to be mindful of, that you've even noticed some of your criticalness and negativity, then I'd say that joy is a goal. The avenue to that is I'm gonna write down 2 things every day that I thought I saw or experienced that were kind or thoughtful or thankful for. And you go, if you find what you're looking for.
Yes.
And we just don't realize we're looking for negativity that supports us. Well, look for those things that support a very different aspect of your life because they're there. You just haven't been looking for them.
Yep. You might be reinforcing those negative beliefs too.
Oh, that's absolutely what you're doing. So that when that wife of mine's like, what was, I'm like, now I know what she's getting at. And I'm like, oh man.
She's instinctively and intuitively helping you deconstruct those negative belief systems.
Oh man, she is. And I'm like, dang it. Look at her sneaking up on me like that with what seems to be an innocuous greeting. Maybe she is. Man, I need to, I'm going to have to jot a note to be more mindful of that. But yeah, it is. And for me, the thing I like is it's a really encouraging message.
Yep.
Because we think that our happiness or our joy is this big, nebulous, no, it's not.
Right.
It's actually a little thing.
Yep.
And you can do something about it.
Mm-hmm.
And that, man, that's good news.
It's such good news. Literally,
yes, it is.
Like, we're not aiming for a perfect life of sunshine and rainbows, just like we're not aiming for like a life of consumption by negative news headlines and political wars and tragedy. Like, we're trying to find like the right balance that leans a little bit toward the joy side.
Yeah, just be fair and look at your little small corner that's actually the world. All the rest of that stuff out there, honestly, how is it really going to affect your day-to-day life? And if you're honest, the majority won't. Mm-hmm. So be that kind of person in your corner of the world.
Yep.
And that I start to feel more hopeful about myself and the people I'm around.
Yep. You become part of the snowball. Like if you're tilting your scales toward joy and happiness and you're that one person, like
look at you bringing that home.
I liked the snowball thing. I'm feeling like festive and wintry.
I know. I loved it. I really did. I was filled with joy and honestly a little envy. I'm like, dude, you know physicians. I'm like, how did you think of that?
Yeah.
He's amazing. He's that amazing. I'm like, man. And I love it. I love it. I keep repeating it.
Yeah, I'm going to take that too.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
I guess I'll let him have a little credit for that one.
I'll give him a little, but this may be the last time. From now on, it's going to be my idea.
Dr. Kevin Gilliland's snowball theory.
That's it. That is it. I hope it doesn't get too big and he comes back and goes, hey, dude, you stole my idea. Yes, I did.
Yeah, and now I have a New York Times bestseller. Sorry.
Yep, sorry. And in fact, I talked about it on a podcast. So looks like you will be getting some royalties from that book deal.
Oh my gosh. Well, this is literally the perfect way, I hope, to inspire people to take those little actions. Be intentional with your goal for the new year. You have the capacity with these little bits that add up to your snowball to make yourself happier, live a life that's more joy-filled, and then be part of the collective snowball. You might think like tuning out of the news means like you're not participating in the collective in a way that you can contribute, right? But maybe it means the opposite. Maybe it means that you recalibrate your mental health in order to add more joy into the collective.
Gosh, that's such a wonderful, wonderful summary.
Well, thank you.
I mean, thank you. Thank you so much. And for my New Year's resolution, I've got 2 that I like an awful lot, and I'll be sure to let you know which one I pick.
Oh, yes. I can't wait to hear this.
I know. There's 2 of these. I'm like, ooh, I like them a lot. I will absolutely follow up with you and let you know which one I pick.
Oh my gosh.
There you go.
I love that so much. Dr. G, as always, this was an absolute joy. Thank you.
It's funny. We talk about these things that help, but then I look at the conversations that you and I have, and I'm so thankful for them. I so enjoy them. And they're actually an example of the things that we tell people to do. Yeah. You and I have gotten to be friends and colleagues over the years of having these wonderful conversations, and it's hard to find people that have them. And when you do, hang on to them.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it's part of what helps me get through difficult days and difficult times is knowing there are people that move through the world like me, and they have ideas that they talk about and share about in a way that makes it easy to hear. And man, I'm so thankful for that. I've quit doing a lot of interviews and things just because I've gotten really busy with work. But every single time you email or text, I always say yes.
You always
because
thank you. I'm literally
those are the people that I want to keep in my life because they help me. So,
well, it's an honor to have you here. Thank you.
Such a joy. Thank you.
So
what a wonderful way to start the year.
I know. Oh my God, I'm such an emo person. Thank you.
You're wonderful. Thank you.
Oh, you are wonderful. It's an honor. Truly honored. Can't put it into words. Thank you, and Happy New Year. Thank you. Okay, I've collected myself and I've stopped tearing up. So that's all for today, folks. Hopefully you have some great mental health goals in mind for the next 12 months. I hope all of this inspired you. If you want to hear more from Dr. Gilliland and you've already heard his past 2 episodes on this podcast, go and check out his podcast, Struggle Well, Live Well, Worry Less. You can also read his book, Struggle Well, Live Well, 60 Ways to Navigate Life's Good, Bad, and In Between. And find him on Instagram at Dr.Kevin G. We've got a lot of fun things planned for you in 2023, and I am so excited to roll that out in the coming weeks and months. Thank you for supporting this podcast. We are just about 6 months old, and I just can't believe it. If you haven't yet subscribed on your chosen listening platform, be that Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, please do that now. That would be so super cool of you. And if you have any requests for topics you want us to investigate or talk about, any taboos or stigmas you want us to bust, or anything else you just want my opinion on, send us an email at imfine@thisisfinepodcast.com. We love you. Have a great day, okay? This is fine. A bientôt. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of This Is Fine. I've been your host, Dominique Michelle Astorino. We're based in San Diego, recording in studio at DLI Productions in Pacific Beach with Emmy Award-winning sound designer Dan De La Isla. This is a comedy and advice podcast, but for legal reasons, this entire podcast is a joke and none of it is medical advice. To download a transcript or learn more, visit thisisfinepodcast.com.